Welcome to another episode of URC Chumps podcast. I'm so glad to have you guys back with us this week. We are going to talk about the end of the Lions tour, some controversy comments, which apparently someone on our panel has to agree with from a certain pundit called Williams. But anyway, before we get into that, let's first start with the guy that I can trust, Tim. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Don't put it like this.
And the traitor who supports Williams, Dara, how are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Yes.
Ah, yes, but we'll get more into that whole concept a little bit later on with that whole discussion. Let's get into this week's episode and everything. So, yeah, let's get into it. The last game of the Lions tour coming up 22-12. As much as I'm happy about the result, I'm also so annoyed with that result because I wanted Nick White to go off on a loss. So I can go, Now, of course, he won, so
You know what? You know what? Like, as a scrum of myself, that was a flippin' good performance from Nick White.
I
Like,
have to give it to
you got to hand it to him. He got under the skin. He was niggly. He spoke to the ref. He controlled the game. He outplayed Gibson Park on Saturday.
No, he definitely did. That's why I said I'm a little bit annoyed in the whole thing because I wanted him to end on a loss.
He's
However,
not my favorite guy, but like I gotta
nah,
respect the game. That was
yeah,
a go out like that. That was impressive, man. Like really,
game respects game.
yeah, yeah. He was
Yeah.
he was really he was really good. So big ups to him.
Uh,
He's not a player. I'll never forget that FAP incident. How ridiculous! But I mean, he really on Saturday showed his experience and just how good he can be. That he was impressive.
I think that's going to be the black mark on his career is that Fuff incident because it was after that no one took him seriously afterwards. And then there was also that incident with the warning that what's his name gave that he overturned the free kick because they took too much time. And he was a captain of the team that time as well. And he still went to the ref and said, "You lost us the championship." But it wasn't the ref's fault. It was their own doing because they were time wasting. But
Yeah,
yes,
I remember that. Not to bring it up. Yeah.
our resident Irishman, how do you feel about that result?
It's probably good for rugby. It's damning for the Lions that there are two controversial decisions in one game away from losing the Lions tour to an Australian side that 2 years ago Wales, who are the worst of the four, beat by nearly 40 points. Uh, but they've still won the series. They're definitely not in the great sides of 1974, 19.
100%
They're,
agree with it.
they're
Like,
not. They're
Yeah.
not in that. They're not in that. Not even 2013 against an Aussie side that 2 years later reached a World Cup final. So you're not. You're not in that ilk. I think
yeah,
certain players were
correct.
good.
I
I
think
don't think very many of them were good
Burnley
on.
class, man. The
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
whole
think many of them were good on Saturday. But in general, yeah, Byrne, Curry was quite good over a couple of matches,
yeah.
and Hugh Jones. I have to throw that
I
in there.
I Ben Bundy Aki had a poor tour.
Yeah, but in fairness, his wife has given birth
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah. But he
Ireland,
didn't
which is
have to
obviously
keep that quiet. Like he
yeah.
didn't tell anyone. He was ridiculous. Like I mean, I get that you want to stay, but like, wow, he didn't say a word to anyone.
But
Yeah.
yeah, overall, I think that game Australia dominated. They dominated the carry. I thought the Lions might get the momentum from the extra long break. They didn't actually give Australia the momentum because they got to keep the likes of Skelton and their big ball carriers on longer. Yeah, Australia, their hands in the rain. I mean, the rain that was coming down. Australia
Yeah,
barely dropped the ball. They clung on to it. It was brilliant rugby. I think again, they showed it in the second test. They showed it again in the third. They've got some of the best hands in world rugby, and it would actually, I'd like to see what they can do with the ball in hand against South Africa, if it's a drier climate, because if they're that good with it in a wet climate, how good can they be ball in hand in a dry climate, no rain? But yeah, look, Australia deserved the test win. It would have been very harsh if the Lions went 3-0, especially after the second test. And yeah, they showed up and they were just better than the Lions. I think there's no debating it.
But I mean, I think what helped Australia with the fact that could keep the big boys on a little bit longer was that 40-minute break due to lightning.
That definitely was a game changer. They got
Yeah,
played on an extra 20 minutes, and so did their
Yeah.
prop, who was making the ball carries. That was a huge moment in the game. And it could have gone either way because Australia had the momentum at that point. So it could have gone either way. It could have been where they came out and they lost the momentum because of the long pause, but it gave them a chance to keep the big boys on and to keep the physicality up. I was impressed with Australia. There were just small mistakes they made, which sort of irritated me. Like in a complete torrential downpour, you don't take the 3 points, you kick it out into the corner, and then you throw it to the six, you throw it to the back ball, and it goes completely askew, and it's turnover ball and easy clearance. You got to take those chances if you're going to beat New Zealand, South Africa, Ireland, England, even these days.
Yeah, I think with us, with the Lions, I think they were hamstrung with the fact that Itoje and Freeman went off in the first half and James Ryan went to Australia after half. The 6-2 ends up killing them because of Farrell and moving Jones out.
I was actually going to bring that up. I'm going to say the fact that they lost both their locks in the game due to HIAs and everything like that did throw out the whole thing. However, I do believe that last try from the Lions should have not stood, because when the yellow card was given to, who was 16 again, the replacement hooker?
Kelleher. Kelleher.
When he was given a yellow card and then there was a scrum, Curry went off with a injury, which I do understand they used that to swap him out at that point. However, the fact that he went off with an injury should have meant that Keenan should have gone off, and what's his name? Kera could have come on. They should have stayed at 14 men for the rest of the game because
the law's not that. They played that to the law. Like when you lose a front row, you can replace the front row with anyone.
Yeah,
yes,
true.
But then Curry went off.
If you don't have backup front row, it becomes uncontested scrums, in which case you can replace your freaking hooker with a wing.
I get that, but Curry, they had made all their substitutions, and Curry went off to
I know what you're saying. You are allowed to come back on if all the subs are made. It is what it is. You have to bring someone.
You're allowed to replace an injury even if you brought on all your subs with a non-injured player.
Correct.
And they had no back rows on the bench that weren't injured, so
that was the aggregate score for the tournament or for the tour. Lions just coming out on top by 1 and everything. So I mean, this bringing a close to the tour and everything, and now where we start looking at our 1-year anniversary for this podcast and the Rugby Championship. I don't know if any of you heard what Getu said in an interview.
No.
But I'll play that quick clip now in this interview here.
2027, we're going to win the World Cup. 2026, we're not going to lose a test. And 2025, we'll win this weekend, the Lions, and we'll win the Rugby Championship.
No, they won't win the Rugby Championship.
Regional.
Yeah, I think the World Cup in 2 years, if they continue to improve, they can make a semi-final. Maybe they won't win it,
I don't
but
think
they
they're
can
going
go.
to. I think
They can.
they're on the up. They're going to get better. But
They'll get better. They'll get better. I think they can challenge in 27 to win the World Cup. I don't think they will. I think they'll probably make a quarter or semi-final depending on how much they improve. But uh,
I do believe this time they'll get out the pool stages. I do
they
believe it.
they definitely will get out of the pool stages. I think, as I said, I think quarterfinals or semi-finals, and then they play South Africa,
Only
or like
two,
New Zealand or France, and
only
they get
two
Yeah, I mean,
countries. But here's a stat: only two countries in three different World Cups have won the World Cup at home.
yeah, South
New
Africa
Zealand,
95
New
and New
Zealand,
Zealand.
1987 and 2011. So
yeah.
yeah,
Look,
Yeah,
I do
but
believe they're getting better and they are going to be competitive, but I don't believe they're going to win it. And I'd certainly
no.
don't
yeah.
win the
I think
championship.
New Zealand, South Africa, France, those are your three front runners to win the next
Yeah,
World Cup.
for sure. And Ireland's got to be up there.
No, I think our
I know
team
they're going through
too
rebuilding,
aged,
but
too many guys that will be just slightly too old in 2 years'
yeah,
time. I
but
think.
you've got such an amazing coach and you've got a good support staff, and I just feel Ireland's rugby is improving dramatically, and I think you guys will break that curse of the quarterfinals next time. I think you
Oh,
like.
hopefully.
I think you'll
But
get this.
talking of
I don't
yeah,
know if you'll make the final or win it, but I definitely think you're going to get through the quarters.
but
That's,
yes, moving on to next week and everything like that. We can talk a bit more about that later on in the year and as we get closer to the World Cup. Um, yeah, we got round one happening next weekend, which is exciting. Um, of course, starting off with Argentina or South Africa and the Wallabies playing first in Joburg at 10 past 5 here, and then probably 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock our time because that is Argentinian time. There's 10 past 6 with the All Blacks there. Yeah,
Yeah, I think two tough
I don't
test
think
matches. I think, like, obviously, the one thing Australia will have on South Africa is battle hardened because South Africa haven't had an actual test, a proper test since November, and obviously Australia have just had three. Four if you include the Fiji match. I don't think Australia win. Altitude, Ellis Park, such a hard place to go. So obviously South Africa are a better team, but I think they definitely can make it competitive. They can definitely push South Africa, and like they've pushed the Lions, and I think it'd be South Africa by 10, but I think it'd be a lot closer than some people will predict.
so. The two
yeah,
things that I've got to say. So I'll get back to
all
you
right.
now. South Africa is going to win it, yes, but it's going to be a tough one for us to win, especially with the fact that we've had a break. I do think the fact that Australia hasn't left until I think next week, is from what I've heard, that they're coming here to South Africa, could play against them. Also, the fact with altitude. Second game, this could be the chance for the Pumas to beat the All Blacks at home because this is the time for them now. The
Yeah,
way that the All Blacks played against France, if the Pumas were sitting and watching, they should be licking their chops right now and looking to play a similar game to what France did, but capitalizing on where France slipped up.
but if Argentina produce like they produced against the Lions, they definitely can beat New Zealand. I don't think this is, and it's certainly not an unbeatable New Zealand side, one of the great New Zealand sides. It's not. And I think they have to fancy themselves in Argentina. They just have to. They have to go out with the belief they can beat that New Zealand side. They beat them last year in New Zealand. So they have to bring that belief and beat and really take a scalp by beating them at home for the first time, beating them in front of their own fans. And, you know, as I said, you said New Zealand's physical game probably not where it should be. France showed that up. You know, a French third string team showed up that New Zealand are probably not physically where they should be now, of course, 5 weeks or whatever break. But if Argentina play that game and the physical game, by God, they've got big enough men to play that physical game. They can beat New Zealand.
Yeah, I mean, if I talk about the Springbok game and the Wallabies game, I think you're right. I think it'll be close, but I think the Wallabies will hold us for the first 60 minutes, 65 minutes, and we'll start to pull away. And I think you within the 10-point realm, I think that's quite correct. I think we're not going to run away with it. It might be. I think it might be a 10-point game, or it might be a 30-point game, because like altitude is a different animal. Also, the crowd's going to be completely sold out, and at Ellis Park is fanatical. So, like you said, it's a difficult place to go and play. So, I'm expecting a good performance from South Africa. But you have put up the point that we haven't had a sort of real test match of late. Whereas the Wallabies have had sort of a grueling couple of weeks. But again, that might be just too much on the body. Having put it out there against the Lions, maybe it's too much. But
Yeah,
And
but I'd
2
argue,
retirements.
maybe the climates, but I'd argue professional rugby players give them 2 weeks off, and usually,
I mean,
they're
the recovery's got to be there. I mean, they've got dietitians, nutritionists, and they'll
Yeah,
get the recovery.
but that's why I said I don't know, because they're leaving their transportation here a bit too late. In Cape Town might be a little bit of a different story the week after, but we'll just have to see on that. And also, don't forget, there's 2 retirements in that team as well right now.
Yes, but I don't think the 2 retirements are. I know Nick White was very good on Saturday, but I think they showed in the second test they can play that game. If they put McDermott at 9 as well.
But also, they're missing their. Well, okay, we could say their first string 10. I mean, he's definitely not going to be able to play because he failed HIA, which means he should be under concussion protocol, which means he'll probably miss the first test against the Springboks. Maybe come back for the second test liner.
James O'Connor at 10. Bit of a throwback, maybe.
Yeah.
Or they might go down
but,
at 10.
Yeah, but I mean, he's been playing fullback, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you got Wright as well.
I think Rice is pretty nailed on in the 15 because
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
especially against South Africa, you need his pace. I think if they are going to break the
I thought
line,
he was good. I thought he had a really good game against the Lions. I thought he was.
he was brilliant. He was brilliant in the 3 times against the
thought he was
line.
exceptional. So yeah, I think it'll be a great game. I think it's going to be a very good spectacle. But I think the Wallabies' best chance of beating us is going to be in Cape Town the following weekend. I think this match they might be licking their wounds a little bit afterwards, but I think they'll come back super strong and they'll push it to the end in the second test.
Yeah.
The next one, the Argentina-New Zealand game, like you say, if Argentina turn up the way they do against the Lions, then they can beat the All Blacks. But they need to front up against the All Blacks in the first 5-10 minutes. They need to absolutely just dominate physically up front, and that they can do. And now they've got some real pace out wide. They've got some real good finishes. Their hands are slick. They do throw too many of those 50-50 passes. But I think that's just they're maturing as a team, and I think they'll get there. So I think that's a game I'm very interested to see what happens.
But Tim, what I make is when Argentina have been at their best, I don't remember the last time they've lost. They were at their best for a whole second half against Australia, beat them by 40 points. For most of the game against New Zealand last year, beat them. For most of the game against South Africa in Argentina, beat them. They were at their best against the Lions and beat them. I think if they turn up at their best, New Zealand,
that's what I'm saying. It all depends on what side turns up on a day.
I don't think New Zealand have been at their best for a while. Even though they beat Ireland in Dublin last year, I think their defence is really good, but their attacking game, they haven't really shown up with that in a while.
They don't have an out-and-out 10 anymore. I mean, they're playing McKenzie and they're playing Bowden Barrett as their tens. But, both those guys are playing between 10 or 15. And, at that level, you need an out-and-out 10.
Yeah, I think Albert Oz coming on the way he has really strengthened Argentina. Just having a real dictator 10 who's
Correct.
brilliant, who can break gaps and make things happen. That's just been a game changer for Argentina.
Yeah, I agree. So that's exciting. That's an exciting fixture for me. I'm very interested to see what happens there. I think Argentina might turn a few heads.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I have got some of the squads. I see. It looks like Argentina has released their squad, so I'm just quickly having a quick look.
What is
No,
what
that's not
bench?
the.
What have they gone for bench wise?
I'll let you know. I don't know the team. Pumas, but I'll show you the South African and
I think against New Zealand they're going to go 6-2.
yeah.
I would.
I'm hoping they come really strong. And everything like that. Okay, I can't actually quite see, but I can actually pull up their squad. Argentina squad. There we go. 9 rookies 2 days ago. All right, so obviously not when I did my initial research, which I will do. I apologize on that regards. But while we're on talking about that, here are the two teams from the Springboks and the All Blacks that have definitely been put out and everything like that. Springbok squad just for the tests against Australia, with the All Blacks squad for everyone and everything like that. Going through the Springbok squad, I mean, we've got Loet Diaco who's back. First championship in, I think, like 16 months or something like that. Peter Steph du Toit, Jean-Luc Dupré, Etzebeth, Koch, Khaleesi, Lowe, Marks, Bongi, Sos, Ox, Nokia, Asenati, Kocher, Achir, Manus, Marco, Bourne, and Jan Hendrik with Kobus Lisa. And I think that is one hell of a forward pack.
That's a strong squad.
Yeah. And then still looking at the back, you got KLA with Delende, Andre, Fassi, Sash, Hooker, Creel, Colby, LaRue's still in the mix, Lubbock, Rudy, Pollard, Reinach, Van der Merwe, Mornay, Grant, and Damien. Well, the only one I do have a problem with is probably Mornay Vandenberg.
Yeah, I mean, I
That's
expected Faf in there, to be honest. I thought Faf had an excellent game when he came on. I thought he was superb. So I was shocked that he wasn't here.
I heard they're just resting him. I think they're going to bring him back for the All Blacks and everything like that. The thing is, you got Reinach and Williams who have a very similar playing style, which could be could cause some issue because it makes us very one dimension kind of attack.
I think Reinach's a lot more physical than Williams. They got both exceptional quick service, but I think for me, Koos Reinach has more of a physicality, whereas Grant Williams has more speed. I mean, I know Reinach's he's a speed merchant, but Williams is just ridiculous. So like they both got speed, but I think Koos Reinach's game all around is just a little bit more mature, and he's got a little bit more experience, and it shows at times. Grant Williams is exciting. I love watching him. The tempo he brings is amazing. His step, his vision to show and go. But I just think in a tight game, I would play, for example, Koos Reinach against the All Blacks, and I'd play Williams against a side like Australia, for example.
But yeah, I mean, then going across the Great Pond to New Zealand, as you can see, they got Brody McAllister, some Sammy Soni, Takahiro, Cody Taylor. I mean, he's an absolute stalwart in their team. Ethan de Groot, Lomax, who does have an injury cover for himself because he could be injured. Fletcher Newell, Ollie Norris, Paulo Pasicilio Tosi, Tamati Williams. Then with your locks, with your captain being Bowden Barrett, Fabian Holland, who had he was quite standout with coming up for the French. And I mean, that was his first game as well. Patrick Tiopolotu, Tupovoye, and then in your loose forwards, Sapini Finiao, Luke Jacobson, Peter Lacaille, Simon Parker, who will be getting a debut if he plays in this tournament, Duplessis Karifi, who for me was quite a standout as well, even though he's still young. He was quite dangerous. Adi Sevilla, who's a co-vice captain. Wallace Tatiti, who we know can be very dangerous running.
He's good player.
Yeah. Noah Hotham, Cortez Otima. I do think that I think it was Cam Roygard or him who could be out injured now. But that it could be a minor injury. We don't know the full. I haven't seen the full story yet. Then we got Bowden, who's under fly half with Damien McKenzie. But I mean, you can also put him in mid and outside. But anyway, midfielders being Geordie Barrett, like I said, Cove vice captain, Anton Leonard Brown, Billy Proctor, Tomasi Tavaita Vanawia. Jeez, these guys have some weird ass names. Quinn Tapia, Caleb Clark, who is, as you can see, got an injury cover as well. Rico Arani, Will Jordan, Ruben Love, Imoni Narawa, and Sivir Reese, which, I mean, geez, some of these guys have been playing for quite some time, and they are definitely not to be taken lightly.
I mean, they've still got that elusive sort of style of play, and they've got the players for it, But I just feel up front and physicality wise, they're not fronting up. If New Zealand have free ball and loose ball, they're gonna kill you. But if you keep it tight and you front up and you send your big boys in and you turn them around and you have your kicking game on point, they are beatable, very, very beatable.
I think their backs are world class, but with how many of their forwards would you say are world class?
Yeah.
They've probably got 7, 8, 9 world class backs and maybe 2 world class forwards.
Correct, and that's the issue of late. They haven't had their forwards come through. Their generation has all been backs and wingers and flouts and fullbacks, but they also haven't had any out and out flouts. So they've had to turn players into flouts.
But now you're saying that. Sorry. The news that just broke out this week is Australia has scrapped the Gitu law.
Talking about New Zealand,
Yeah. And no, but New Zealand will be the only team in the championship who has that rule that to play for New Zealand, you have to be in New Zealand. South Africa scrapped that law after Alistair Coetzee. Australia has now scrapped that law that now allows any Australian to go overseas and still be eligible to play for Australia. Argentina's been doing that because they've realized that they haven't been able to hold on to players due to the financial reasons, so they've allowed them to go overseas. And I know Razor is trying to fight that rule and everything like that. But this is the only team.
I just
depends
think the rugby career is too short. I mean, it's the same rule in Ireland. The rugby career is too short. You be able to play where you want. Ireland, England, New Zealand are the only 3 major countries that still have it. They'd want to get rid of it.
And France.
I agree.
No, France don't have it. Slimani plays for France,
Yeah.
and Picamo's played for France for years when he played for Northampton. So France don't have it. It's just French players don't want to leave the top 14.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just saying, and France says they have all their the players inside. They're hardly out, but
But
that's on
yeah,
their
but
own accord.
that's just the quality of their league rather than
Yeah.
enforcement.
But I mean, yeah. Um, I mean, it's kind of hard. I mean, you look at Georgia, half of those guys are playing everywhere else in the world. Um, I know there was that whole discussion about the Japan league not being strong enough, but I think the Japanese or that League One has actually helped South Africa in the sense that the players are able to stay match fit, but they don't play as much as they would in Super Rugby or Northern Hemisphere.
I mean, that's they're definitely not playing at the level. But I think they're playing the same amount of rugby, but I don't think they're playing at the intensity and the physicality of saying like the URC or the Super Rugby League. But I mean they're definitely playing a lot of rugby these days.
Yeah, I'd say that definitely South Africa are like maybe the only nation besides maybe England at times and France that just have people big enough that they don't need constant physicality to be up there. The lads are just big enough as it is.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I put that video in our chat group from that under 20 flanker from the South Africa where they were trying to rip the ball from him. I think the only one that really got it away from him was Ox. But I mean, that's a
Of course.
20-year-old kid. I'll put that in. I'll look for that quickly before we end the episode. I'll play that video. But I
But
mean,
yeah,
yeah,
like France and South Africa, I don't even think England at the moment have it. They're just the two where if you have a guy that's just big enough, like even like a Will Skelton, he could play in my local league, standing on people's heads for 80 minutes a week, and he'd still be big enough to physically compete in a test match. Like,
yeah. But talking about test matches and everything like that, like we've mentioned, there's been 2 retirement calls from Australia. The most controversial player in the world, Nick White, and David Poreki, both calling times on their careers after the Lions, which I'm surprised they didn't try to stay with Smith or until the end of the championship. But both of them called their times.
yeah,
Nick
I found
White's,
it hilarious. Nick White getting given a referee's top by Angus Gardner.
I
That
saw that.
that was fantastic.
Yeah. But yes, that is the 2 calls that have come out. Once we know more about their team, we'll put it in. Like I said, I do actually have the team from what you call it, Argentina. The team is Bernasconi, Oviedo, Cora Machetti, uh, Demorum. Nicholas is a rookie. Petty, Delgado, Rubilo, Gonzalez, Ruiz, Granoda, Grondona, Sclavi, Crema, Tetsa Chaparro, Matera, Vivas, Molina, Wenger, Boris Wenger. He's also a rookie. Julian Montoya. Then we're looking at the backs. Albanos, Thomas, Garcia, Benitez Cruz, Isgro, Carreras, Malia. So it's Matera, Carreras, and Santiago Carreras who are in the team. Mendy, Chocobares, Moyona, Sini, Picardo, Alzalde, Prescatelli, I'm sorry if I do, and Dilgai, who have been
Yeah,
selected in the team for them.
yeah, Curbs, you don't have to work on your Spanish.
Yes, I do need to. I do apologize. And my Maui as well.
Sound like
One thing at a time now. One thing at a time.
you sounds like Shark Time speaking.
But yes, talking about English, let's talk about the controversial thing that will cause our debate for the week. Mr. Dr. Erasmus tweeting about Matt Williams' comments about the fact that the Lions would have beaten South Africa. The half of the support from the Lions have said, no, they wouldn't beat South Africa. It will be a tight game against the All Blacks and everything like that. But yes, Matt Williams, the rugby union coach, had a 17.65% win percentage during his tenure coaching Scotland. He coached the team in 17 matches, only winning 3 of them. 2 of those wins against Tier 2 nations Japan and Samoa. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, every time he's on the TV, I have to be careful if I'm with my girlfriend's dad if a boot doesn't go flying across the sitting room. He's generally hated in Scotland from what I can regard. But that's not the comment I agreed with, by the way. I didn't even know that he said the Lions had beat South Africa. I was agreeing with what he said about they should keep playing in Australia. I think South Africa and New Zealand would have beaten the Lions.
yeah. But yes, the last time the Lions came here, it was a horrible time for everybody. It was in the middle of COVID. It
I
didn't
agree
look
with his
great.
remarks there as well. He said 3 of the worst test matches, and they were diabolical test matches.
Yes,
Gatlin Ball, and it was just very little running rugby was played. It was fairly boring. Like,
yeah. So I
You
mean,
say that, but the series was decided in the last minute by a penalty kick. I mean, like, how can you
second
say
time Mornay stayed.
how can you say it's boring? I mean, like, you're looking at
the quality of the matches was
it was
poor.
a tough tour. I mean, you guys have got we had COVID, so the teams were sort of struggling to train together. You know, it's what we were dealt with. It's got nothing to do with South African style of rugby, as this moron's trying to put it onto. You know, at the end of the day, he's just a really below average coach who's trying to stay relevant in a game that's surpassed him. And he can stay relevant.
I'm not just blaming South African rugby for the last tour. The Lions played absolutely atrocious.
I mean, it's also what my defense for South Africa is the same defense for the Lions. We're going through a sort of pandemic. People can't really get really into things. It's a completely the world has been turned upside down. It's really difficult to go and then travel and do a Lions tour.
Yeah, but that's been...
Oh, excuse me, which is empty. But you can bleep that out.
Gatland's style of rugby, at least to me, has always been boring, regardless of training circumstance. Like if Andy Farrell managed the Lions in New Zealand in 2017, they'd have beaten New Zealand. If they played a bit more expansive rugby against New Zealand, they'd have beaten New Zealand. They threw it away because Gatland was too defensive, too forward orientated, didn't get the ball out of the backs.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. But
it was also a logistical nightmare for South Africa to get the players here for that series as well, because some of the guys had to go from one place to another place to another place.
Playing in empty stadium, I mean, what does that do? It doesn't really give you sort of test match vibes, does it?
It didn't feel like a Lions tour, did it? Like I know, just like this Lions tour, it was massive South African rugby revenue-wise. It probably saved South African rugby partly because the revenue it brought in from a financial year where South Africa didn't play a test match for a whole year.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they had the revenue.
£450,000. That was the number that was thrown there.
Yeah.
This one for the Lions was 17.9, and the last one in New Zealand was something like, I think it was also 15 or something million pounds. And South Africa during the middle of the COVID, £450,000.
Yeah, but where I agreed with him as well is a reason why they will. It is the most profitable Lions tour for two reasons. One, the most Lions expats live in Australia. There's 100,000 Irish alone in Australia, and that's people born in Ireland. That's not even descendants of Irish people. That's just people born in Ireland that live in Australia. That's on top of English, Welsh, and Scottish. There's thousands as well. So you always have that. You always just have rakes of Irish and English and Welsh and Scottish people that have to walk about 20 minutes from their home to get to a Lions test series. That's always going to make it more profitable. Second reason is just the Australian economy is bigger than the South African and New Zealand economies, which makes it bigger. But the Lions tour this time has been so successful, it's taken Australian rugby out of the red. There were something like 50 million Aussie dollars in the red. They're out of that and they're actually in a budget surplus now through the Lions tour. They just need to spend that wisely. So I think, these calls that you've seen calls as well to get rid of the Lions tours, they never get rid of them. It's massive for the three rugby unions of the South. It's nearly bigger for them than for the Lions.
It's tradition-wise. I mean, I don't see why instead of playing like a South Africa A, they can't play for example, a Namibia, and instead of playing a New Zealand B or A, they can play a Fiji.
Yeah. I obviously you don't know, but I made this point about a year ago on Twitter that they should have played Fiji. I think they bottled it when they played the First Nation Pacifica. They should have just played Fiji, even if it's not in Fiji. Even if they just played them on the east coast of Australia.
Would you be for scrapping the midweek games with the unions and trading them in for like the second tier nations? Still want to keep the union games.
So like a Zimbabwe and Namibia.
So for example, our two strongest neighboring countries in Africa, we have the British and Irish Lions play them instead of playing like a Stormers outfit or
No, I agree with playing the unions, but these made-up sides they played the Anzac side and they played the First Nation Pacifica side. They should have just played Fiji and then another Pacific Island side. So you can fit in playing all your unions and then still play a test match. What I would do when going to South Africa is I'd mix Namibia and Zimbabwe. Take the best players from both, because I think that's how you make it a better game.
Isn't that like the Oz New Zealand game as well? But instead,
yeah, but you are giving these players experience and you are giving these nations money rather than the Anzac game where you're not really giving anyone that much money other than the Aussie Union, whereas you can split the revenue 50-50 between the Zimbabwean Union and the Namibian Union for that game, just to make it a better game, because I think the Lions could go out and slaughter the two of them individually, but if you put their best players together, I think you get a better game. Yeah. And when you play New Zealand, the same thing with the Pacific Islanders, of course. You play Fiji, and then I'd swap between Samoa and Tonga. You'd play Samoa in one. If you're going to Australia, maybe play Samoa. If you're going to New Zealand, play Tonga.
Yeah, good. I agree with that. And they deserve it too. So,
but yeah, because Fiji in particular, I'm nearly at the base where I can call Fiji a tier 1 nation. They're beating them so often. They're giving them games as good as other tier 1. Like even a couple of weeks ago, they should have beat Australia in Australia. Dodgy enough last minute penalty. And they've beaten Wales, they've beaten Australia, they've beaten England, all in the last 3 years. So
that's some good stuff.
No, they're definitely getting up there, and I do believe there needs to be a look at the tier ratings for each country, because these lower tier nations are getting closer and closer as the time goes on. Yes, they have these big losses in between, but they are definitely starting to put up their hands. I still believe there needs to be two versions of the Six Nations. There needs to be the first one and then the second one, and whoever ends at the bottom of the first one goes and plays at the second one. Whoever ends at the top goes. It gives the tier 2 guys or the bottom guys a chance to get to that point, even if they know they're going to lose. Just the experience that they get to have going into like a Twickenham or Parc de France or the Viva Stadium, it's
Yeah.
huge. Yeah.
What I'd say is that'll never happen for one reason, is because you can be bankrupting unions, especially the Welsh Union, would go bankrupt at Six Nations. So I don't think they'll ever do that. I think the idea of this Rugby Nations Championship is awful for Tier 2 rugby. Whoever came up with that idea is an idiot. Because, I mean, like, Japan and Fiji are going to benefit massively. Fiji deserve it. I'd argue about Japan because they're kind of very hit and miss. I don't think they're much better than Georgia. But your Georgias and, Spain and all these, like Georgia in particular, won't play another Tier 1 nation until possibly the World Cup. Same with Samoa and Tonga. These teams who are, Georgia usually play at least one Tier 1 nation in the autumn, at least. And then sometimes on the summer tour against one, like they did this year playing. And Samoa and Tonga are usually the same. They'll usually play one of the Six Nations sides. And if you're taking that away, you're aggressing rugby in those nations. And you're losing big markets, especially in Georgia. Georgia's now a huge market for rugby. I think Spain is another one where you could lose it. Spain's becoming a massive market for rugby as well.
Well, I mean, you mentioned the fact that Wales could get bankrupt if they go into that thing. I mean, you look at it, Louis Rees-Zammett's apparently re-signed back in with the rugby union. It sounds like he's back into the mix again. I mean, the joke is all he did was he lost one win during his time that he was out. But
But if you look at the Welsh rugby union accounts, that game at home to England every 2 years alone nearly keeps that union afloat because of how much money that makes. Because obviously, the most away fans for a Six Nations game is always England going to Wales and Wales going to England, just because the rugby mad part of England borders Wales, so South England borders Wales.
Yeah.
So that game, it's like, people drinking, all that, doing all the activities. That game alone nearly keeps Welsh rugby spinning. And so you just can't act.
Yeah. I mean, you do have some fair points, but I unfortunately, we have to look at the bigger picture as well, because you can't keep having these Tier 1 nations always getting kicked off. And hopefully Wales, with this win, has now realized what good it can do and everything. And we could see what happens from there, because they have been Grand Slam champions before. It's been a while since.
I still think if Wales played Georgia right now, Wales would beat Georgia.
But this is why I said is early on in the year when they were first going through like 12 losses or so, I still said when it comes to their autumn or the break that we have with everybody coming here, they need to go and play Tier 2 nations and actually do it. I said, unfortunately, yes, it's going to seem like we're just coming to beat you, but it's coming to beat you, but also give us that momentum and give us that we are winning and everything like that. I mean, as a Tier 1 nation and 4-time champion, I would have actually turned around and you said, you guys have gone through a bad phase. You needed that to get yourself back into, or hopefully get yourself back to that level that we can actually consider you a threat. Because beforehand it was like, oh, okay, Wales, whatever. Now Wales has won one game. You can be like, okay, that's one game, but now often one leads to two, two leads to three. Yeah. But we're gonna have to wait and see.
The other point is, I mean, the sad reality is we're talking about a team that has won the Six Nations. So that's since 2006 times in 25 years. By no means is that a bad return. That's just winning it. Never mind finishing second and third and whatever. So, you know, even the thing with going to play Tier 2 nations, that did look like, I mean, that tour was nearly an unmitigated disaster. If they didn't play well in the second half against Japan, that second test and salvage, they'd have lost both times to Japan. And then where do you go? They're playing Japan in Cardiff in November. They need to win that match. For seeding alone, if they lose to Japan in Cardiff, they will be in a third pot and they will play one of the big four, which I assume the top four will still be South Africa, New Zealand, Ireland, France, and then probably one of an England, Scotland, Argentina, Australia. So you're going to have to beat one of the big boys then to even get out of your pool.
But I mean, also, what you need to realize is in November and stuff like that, Wales is going to have to at least get one win to get themselves onto some sort of path, especially with the fact that they're going up against the likes of South Africa and
Argentina. They're playing Argentina, Japan, South Africa, New Zealand. You can write off South Africa, New Zealand. Need to beat Japan, and they have to try and target to beat Argentina for the best seeding possible.
I don't think they'll beat Argentina.
I don't think so either, but they have to. I genuinely, if I was Steve Tandy, I'd go, lads, I develop a specific game plan for Argentina rather than, try and bloody beat the All Blacks in South Africa, which just isn't going to happen.
I mean, looking at it, okay, the November series is first Argentina, then Japan, then New Zealand, then us. If they beat Japan and let's just say by some chance they beat Argentina, they're playing against New Zealand, and if they lose against New Zealand, it could be a tough game for South Africa because they're going to want to come back for pride.
Yeah, well, I suppose the other point is ranking points for Wales isn't, on the line against South Africa. If they lose South Africa and New Zealand, they won't lose ranking points. But yeah, I suppose, in fairness, the game in November, Wales played their hearts out against South Africa, but still got thumped. So, no, I don't think anybody could have questioned the effort they put in. Just don't have the quality.
I agree with that.
So, I think, the quality is the big part, and that's the biggest part of international rugby. If you don't have the right players, you're just screwed. I mean, you can't go up, if you have a light pack, really, you can't go up against your South Africas. You can't go up against France. You just can't compete with them because you can't get the bloody ball off them. Every time you knock it on, you're probably getting marched back off a scrum penalty. And, every time you drop it, I mean, these teams just have such quick backs that you would just have to have a world-class defence. And it's hard to have a world-class defence if you guys are smaller than the other teams. So I think that's your issue.
I mean, you're saying that, but now this is the nature of rugby. I'm going to show you a clip. I mentioned it earlier. This is the clip of this guy who's an under 20 player going up against a few of the guys with holding on to the ball. I mean, this could be scary for the fact that he could play against Wales. I think, yeah.
Yeah, one more. Yes. One more. Let's go. Let's go. Keep it, Bartu. Kom, Jas, alle Mike. I want you to have one more. Alle Mike, Jas. I want you to have one more. Last one. Kom, Jas, Leave, Jas. Bartu, keep it. Keep it, go. Let's work this thing. It's too comfortable for him. Keep it, Bartu. Yeah, man. Go get him. Bartu, come on. Get it out, dog. Bartu. Get on, Sasha. Attack him, Sasha. Bartu, pump him away. Get him away. Bartu, he's pulling you around a bit, Bartu. Why are you going to pull around, Bartu? Hold your space. Don't get pulled around. Bartu, come on. He's throwing you about, Bartu. Next minute, don't get pulled around. All right, Damon. All right, Damon. Don't just sit don't wild guy. Get him with it. That's fine, dude. That's it, man. Fight. Take it high. Keep it, bud. Try him, Hash. Keep it, bud. Try it, Hash. Take it, Hash. Well done, Hash. Again. Go, again. Again, Hash. Back to street on. Again, Hash. Well done.
Yeah, so I mean that's two of the under-20 champions at the end there. I mean,
what I find funny about that clip is nobody can take the ball off him. Then Oxenchair just lifts him up, just takes him off the ground. Like, I mean that's just the funniest thing about that clip is nobody can move this guy, and then Jay just picks him up, and he doesn't even look like he's trying. He takes the ball off him.
Yeah. He's a.
but I mean that's
phenomenally strong.
that's a 20-year-old kid. I mean, come on.
He's
And
3
everything
years
like
older
that.
than me. I mean, I think I don't think I can outrun him. Like I'm screwed if I come up against him. The only way I got is like climbing. I mean, that's my only hope.
Get to
He'd
the
eat
top
me.
of the poles.
He'd eat me and he'd still be hungry. Like that's what's scary about it.
Yeah. We were going to go through the trades and everything like that. I think just with time, we're going to hold off and everything. Which we'll go through that first thing next week before we start talking about the build up to the championship. Who's in and who's out, and who's got a contract extension with each team in the URC. It'll take us quite some time. This week's joke is not mine.
Just about to ask. Did we
It was
Was it-
given to us by Dara after the episode had aired. Do you want to say it, Dara?
It wasn't. No. I let one of you say it. So
Okay.
If I come
Why
back
did
to
the
the black
Springbok get
line-
onto the Why did the Springbok get onto the boat to go play for Scotland?
if I come back with a black eye and 15 scratches over my face next week, Irby, I'm holding you responsible, pal.
We shall keep you. We shall accept you as a refugee, like the Americans with the Afrikaners.
I'm gonna bloody need it. He wants migration of someone away from Scotland to South Africa. That's the first. Oh, Jesus. I think it works for myself, don't I?
Yeah. But anyway, guys, Tim, Dara, thanks very much, fellow champions. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Please, guys, comment if you have a joke and everything. The comments that we've been getting lately, I've actually been enjoying them. I actually do take them into consideration when you guys do give things. But anyway, all the best, guys. Until next week, have a good one. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.